I guess I started broken because I started as an adopted child. When I was 6 days old, I was adopted, and I was actually in a children's orphanage and have no idea who my birth parents are and really don't want to know. I'm Patrice Brown. This is my broken, not dead story. I'm broken, not dead. God has blessed me. I had two wonderful parents who are Christians. They gave me everything I needed, mostly love more than anything, and they were unable to have children. So it was a blessing both ways. I feel like God just let the planets align so that they were able to have children and I had a home that I needed. Growing up, we just always talked about that I was adopted. I have a brother who's also adopted, and it was never taboo at my house. Like I grew up hearing, "You're a beautiful adopted baby," or "You're my adopted daughter," so that it wasn't a scary thing to say. I've known friends actually who were adopted and didn't find out until they were older, and it was devastating to them. But for me in my house, it was just normal, and it was viewed as a good thing because it is a good thing. It was a blessing. And maybe because of the blessing that it has been in my life, I've never felt the need to find my birth parents. I'm really happy where I'm at. I have two great kids and a great husband, and I'm just really happy where I'm at right now. But I have known friends who were adopted and found their birth parents, and it was not a good situation. So, like one friend found her mom, and then her mom felt the need to be involved in her life, and she didn't want that at that point. So it was just extra conflict that maybe it was more stress for her to deal with. So I don't know. I've just felt like I don't need to know. I've never felt abandoned or anything like that. I've just always felt blessed. So I'm happy where I'm at. The first time I remember being conscious of knowing that I was adopted, I think I was probably 5. And like I said, we just always talked about it in my home so that it wasn't a scary thing or viewed as a bad thing. And I remember my mom, she would always say, well, you were adopted, but your birth mom loved you very much. And she loved you so much that she gave you a good home. She just couldn't take care of you. It wasn't that she didn't love you, she just couldn't take care of you. And I remember thinking as a kid, oh no, and I even said well, is she hungry? Does she have food? And so my first consciousness of what adoption meant was that I was very loved, but then was very concerned for my birth mom. My dad was 6'2" and a redhead and freckles. My mom is 5'9", and you probably can't tell where I'm sitting, but I'm barely 5 feet tall. And so my mom and I would be out shopping, and people would go, "What happened to you?" And I would always respond, "Well, I was adopted." And then a lot of times people would respond to me and say, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was like, "Why are you sorry?" Like some people automatically feel like that's a negative. "Oh, you're adopted, I'm sorry." But I kind of look at it like it's a blessing, because otherwise my parents wouldn't have had the opportunity to have children, and I would be sitting, or would have been sitting, in a state foster home, or actually it was the orphanage. So adoption can be a great thing, and I don't ever see it as a, "Oh, I'm sorry" moment. I see it as a blessing moment. Your past doesn't define you no matter what your past is. So I feel like a lot of people focus on, things that have happened that could cripple them instead of focusing on the positive. So I just choose to focus on the positive. But I think maybe that's why is a lot of times when you hear adoption stories, the first thought that comes to your mind is the abandonment part of it. Well, somebody gave that baby away. Somebody either, they didn't want that baby. But whatever the person's reason was, you can give them credit for having that child and giving them life, instead of saying, "Oh, that mom didn't want that child." No, she loved that kid enough that she gave him life. So I think the tendency of some people is to hide it like it's an embarrassment, instead of let's educate people, and say, this is an avenue. I mean, we all know about abortion. everybody knows how to get an abortion, and I'm not going to tell my age, but I was born just prior to Roe versus Wade. So, I'll also tell you too that there were times in my life as I researched that law that I was very aware that I could have not been here. I could have not been given life, because even though I was born prior to that law going into effect, abortion was happening. I think there needs to be more education too, because with the pressure of, well, I don't want to get an abortion, so I'm going to have this baby, and then some people feel pressured because, well, if I have it, I need to keep it even if I can't care for it, or even if I don't want the child. How much better off would that child be given to a family who desperately wants to have a family and can't? So just to reduce the stigma too for young ladies who are faced with an unwanted pregnancy for whatever reason, for them to feel like it's a blessing, and that for whatever reason that it happened, that they can then bless someone else by giving that life, and not feeling obligated then to put themselves in a position where they're raising a child they don't want or can't take care of. So, even assistance for young mothers who find themselves in a position they don't want to be in. I'm a very positive person just by nature, and I just feel like we need to show other people that we all have a story. And no matter what your story is, it can be a positive outcome. Like, you can't let one thing that someone else might see as negative define you. You're going to be successful in spite of that. Or maybe even because of that. Maybe because of the things you go through in your life make you stronger. And because of that, then you have that fighting attitude. Ultra running has taught me a lot about a fighting attitude, and just keeping on when you don't want to keep on, and just having the strength to stand, I guess. Adoption doesn't define you. Your past doesn't define you. And just because you may not know who your birth parents are doesn't make you any less who you are. I love music. Like, I play tons of instruments, and it's just part of who I am. So whoever my birth parents are, I feel like had to have loved music. Hopefully they played something, but that doesn't define you. It really doesn't matter, because God took parts of those two people and made a wonderful person. And He made you unique and special. And just because you found out your beginning maybe wasn't what you thought it was, it doesn't define your present, and it doesn't define your future. So keep being who you are.
I'm broken under